So, if you're an intermediate or advanced Chinese learner, you've definitely been here before. You say something, the grammar is spot on, every word is correct, but it just doesn't land right. Today, we're going to dig into exactly why that happens and, more importantly, how to fix it. Here's a hint, it's not about grammar. It's about something called pragmatics.
I mean, this has to sound familiar, right? You've put in the hours, you've memorized the vocabulary, you've absolutely nailed the sentence structures. You say something to a native speaker and you get that look. You know the one. That little bit of confusion. The words were right, but the communication just fizzled. So what's going on?
This slide just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? On one side, you've got your perfect grammar, all the rules, everything the textbook told you, and on the other, you've got that socially awkward moment where you know something went wrong. The problem isn't that you're bad at grammar. It's that there's another layer to language that the textbooks don't always teach.
And that something else is called pragmatics. This is where we get into the hidden rules of language. You know, the instructions that nobody wrote down for you, but everyone expects you to know?
So what is pragmatics, really? Well, simply put, it's the study of how context completely changes everything. It's the difference between knowing a word's dictionary definition and knowing how to actually use that word to get your point across to a real person in a real situation without things getting weird. And this is a huge deal, because for so many of us, the biggest mountain left to climb isn't memorizing more grammar. It's closing that gap between the rules in a book and the messy, fast-paced reality of an actual conversation. That's the leap from just speaking a language to truly using it.
Okay, so to figure this out, we need to pull back the curtain and look at these unwritten rules. Let's break down the core ideas that make pragmatics work.
Think of it like this. There are 4 main pillars. First, the cooperative principle. Basically, we go into a conversation assuming the other person isn't trying to trick us. Second, conversational implicature. This is all about reading between the lines. If your friend says, "Wow, I'm really thirsty," the hidden meaning is probably, "Hey, can we get a drink?" Third, speech acts. Our words do things. When you say, "I'm sorry," you're not just stating a fact, you're performing the act of apologizing. And finally, politeness strategies. All those little social rules we follow to keep conversations smooth and respectful.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple truth. A sentence that is word for word identical can have a totally different meaning, a totally different impact depending on the situation. That's the heart and soul of pragmatics.
All right, theory is great, but let's see how this stuff actually plays out in Chinese. We're going to look at some of the most common spots where learners get tripped up, all because of pragmatics.
First up, we've got something called deixis. It's a fancy word for pointing words. Their meaning is completely tied to the speaker's context. For instance, in Chinese, if someone tells you, 我马上来, 我马上来, the dictionary will tell you that means I'm coming immediately. But in reality, depending on the context, that could mean I'm 2 seconds away, or it could mean I'll get to it in about 10 minutes. Without that shared context, you're just left guessing.
Now this next one is a huge difference between Chinese and, say, English. In English, we're constantly saying he, she, it. In Chinese, not so much. Pronouns get dropped all the time. You might hear, 他累了,想睡觉. Literally, he's tired, wants to sleep. See that? The second he is just gone. The listener is just expected to follow along. This is called zero anaphora, and getting the hang of it is absolutely key to sounding natural.
All right, challenge number 3, speech acts. This is the idea that the job a sentence is doing can be totally different from what it looks like on the surface. Did you know you can give a command by asking a question?
And here is a perfect example. On the left, a super direct command, don't stand in the doorway. Crystal clear. But on the right, must you stand in the doorway? Now, grammatically, that's a question, but pragmatically, come on, we all know what's happening. It's still a command, just disguised as a question to be a little less direct, maybe a little more polite. Same action, different packaging.
And this leads us right into our final big challenge. And oh man, it's a big one. Cultural politeness. The rules for being polite, for saving face, for showing respect, these are absolutely not the same everywhere. What seems normal and friendly in one culture could be seen as pretty rude in another. Mastering this is what separates a good speaker from a great communicator.
So we've laid out all these challenges. What's the solution? Well, it really requires a change in focus for both learners and for teachers. We have to shift our thinking from just speaking the language to actually using it.
And this is the real goal, isn't it? It's not about being a walking grammar book or a dictionary on legs. It's about becoming an effective communicator who can walk into a real-life situation and handle it with confidence and cultural awareness.
So how do we get there? Here are a few practical ways to approach it. First, focus on context. Stop analyzing single isolated sentences and start looking at entire dialogues. Second, teach variety. Don't just learn one way to ask for something, learn 3 or 4 and talk about when and why you'd use each one. Third, talk about politeness openly. Discuss the cultural differences. And finally, practice the flow of conversation, using those little words that connect ideas and make you sound smooth.
So here's the bottom line. Becoming fluent is so much more than just good grammar. Once you start to understand these unwritten rules of pragmatics, you can finally turn all that hard-earned book knowledge into real, effective, and confident communication. So the only question left is, are you ready to stop just speaking Chinese and start really using it?